Hello, Cloud Gurus. I'm Mattias Andersson, one of the developer advocates here at Pluralsight and A Cloud Guru, and we are here at AWS reInvent 2022 for day 3 coverage. But I have with me Jeremy and Jess. Do you want to start by introducing yourself a little, Jeremy?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Morgan. I'm a developer advocate here at Pluralsight.
I
Jess?
am Jess Alvarez, AWS training architect here at A Cloud Guru, a Pluralsight company.
Awesome. All right, so this morning we had a keynote from AWS's Vice President of Data and Machine Learning. I'm going to try this, Swami Sivasubramanian. Anyway, he had a really interesting keynote all about data and machine learning, which kind of makes sense because he's the vice president of data and machine learning, right? You know. But we covered a lot of things this morning. What he started out with was a quote that says that data beats intuition, and he was calling back to early people in Amazon, even before AWS, who used this to guide what they were doing. And I think that was a really interesting way to start, to sort of clarify the importance. And then he set sort of some context of saying that we want to build future-proof data foundations so that we're not having to constantly re-architect what we have to manage our data so we can get value out of it. Do either of you want to start with something extra? What sort of jumps out at you after that?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right.
One of the things that I really liked was he set the context, like I said, right away. Like, data isn't centralized, it's not automatically processed, you know, and kind of talked about the problems and definitely set up like, here's the problem, here's how we're addressing it, here's where we go, and then put that framework for the talk. You know, as a public speaker, I was really impressed by how he set up that talk and said, we're going to talk about, I have it in my notes here, tools for every workload, performance at scale, removing heavy lifting, reliability and security, and then democratizing data. And so you knew what to expect from each section as it went, and I was really impressed. I mean, it was one of those talks where like every minute of it, he had my attention.
Yeah.
That's
Him
awesome.
and the other speakers.
Absolutely.
You called out the undifferentiated heavy lifting, and that was one of the things that I had talked about
Mine.
yesterday, right?
Yeah.
They haven't said that enough lately, but yeah, they're starting to fill their quota.
Yes.
Maybe he heard you yesterday
Yeah,
on this
maybe.
live
He
stream.
tuned into the stream and he was like, you know what? I'm changing my talk. I'm going to put that in there. Yeah.
Throwing it in there.
Maybe not, but anyway.
So, I think for me, I'm a sucker for demos. If you want my attention, you show me what we're doing, right? Show me how it works. And we got 2 of those in this keynote, which was great. I loved seeing geospatial machine learning at work. That was the coolest thing ever. Then having a scenario with helping others at the core of the subject just kind of was the frosting on the cake for me. And then the data zone demo. I cannot believe how quick she went through that. I wish I had timed it. It felt like it was 2 or 3 minutes long. Like, she's like, and you click, 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 and that's data zone. Like, what?
I was like, wow.
I'm like, that was pretty incredible. I liked watching that. And then Redshift Multi-AZ, they announced that, and I was like, finally. But,
Yeah. So so there's a lot to unpack there. So let's talk about some pieces of that. You mentioned geospatial data.
Yes.
So in particular, I wanted to call out that that's an announcement that Amazon SageMaker Geospatial ML is what they're calling this support. It's in preview, but it's all about managing geospatial data in machine learning SageMaker pipelines, right?
Right.
So you mentioned the demo there. Do you want to talk just a little bit about what the demo was doing, or to get some context?
Sure.
Or
Sure. So they went through, and the scenario was like a flooding city. There's a flood in the city, and we want to see which roads are flooded so that paramedics and EMS can get to people who need to be saved.
Yeah.
Right. And so we see the layer of roads, and then we see the layer of river and the overflow of that on the road map. And then send it off to whoever needs to see it, which was incredible. I really liked how they have built-in 3D visualization. That was part of it. And he also mentioned that it has built-in neural maps, which is really excellent. So when you go to use it, there's nothing extra to do. You put in your data, and now everything is built in. But I'm kind of curious, Jeremy, how you felt about it, because we talked about it a little bit, and I liked hearing your insight.
I was absolutely blown away by that demo. As a first responder who's worked disasters before, I was watching that like,
Yeah.
that's incredible. I mean, it's like it hits home so much that I've rerouted a fire truck because of flooding in our area. Like,
Wow.
definitely something that we could use, and it's inspired me to look deeper into that, of course,
Yeah.
for our
Absolutely.
area, because
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just incredible. And yeah, seeing like flooded areas and thinking of like wildfires. Wildfires are the same way, you know, when they're driving around through the mountains, sometimes the only way you know that fire is across the road is when you see it through the windshield.
Right.
And so something like that, I just think is incredible, and it's a lifesaver, literally.
Absolutely.
Will be a
Absolutely.
lifesaver for people. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to see how technology is solving real problems that we face, saving lives, and really like moving us forward in such meaningful ways, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I appreciate you both sharing your insights on that. I can understand it, especially hits home having been in that spot that they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
So they were combining like up to the minute sort of satellite imagery with the rest of the information to be able to pull out that extra higher level information of what's the circumstance. So definitely a great one. Anything else? What's the next thing that we should talk about here? Should we talk a little bit about Amazon Athena for Apache Spark?
Yeah, 75 times faster than other offerings.
I mean, that is, and it's generally available right now. So this one's not in
Yeah.
preview. That is a big deal. So Athena will let you use SQL queries across S3 buckets, and you can do a lot of really great stuff. But a lot of people want to use Apache Spark to manage a lot of their data processing. So bringing that in is a really great thing. So you said, 75 times faster, and
Under 1 second.
Yeah, so
Under 1 second. What?
Yeah.
they were even comparing themselves to some of the other cloud offerings, and basically saying, hey, look, not just better than the other approaches you could have had, but like we're a lot faster than the other clouds. So
it runs 3
throw it
times
down there.
faster on I had in my notes, 3 times
3 times
faster
faster. I
on
did see
AWS.
that, yeah.
I'm
Good
like,
job.
Yeah,
wow.
so it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out, like how they did the data and whatnot. But a lot of people, I think, are going to be really interested in taking advantage of Apache Spark this way, right? Like this is, so
I
very
think it
cool.
opens a lot of doors for sure.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm-
actually, since you mentioned S3, I'm going to segue really
Sure.
quick into Amazon Redshifts autocopy from S3.
Yeah,
That's huge. That's a big
Yeah.
deal. I mean, that's a lot of data readily copied. Now you don't have to wait for something to come through. What? That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a crazy.
They're,
I'm sorry.
well, so the theme from yesterday and today has been this zero ETL mission for, well, at least one of the themes. And so that definitely aligns with that, right? So a new file shows up and it automatically just gets slurped in, and now it's a part, like, as opposed to all of the problems and manual steps that you would otherwise have. But then it also deals with, they also dealt with data quality as you're bringing things in and managing the quality stuff. So maybe, what did they call that thing again now? Oh, AWS Glue data quality is in preview, which keeps bad data flows from emptying into your data lake so that you're not polluting your lake, basically.
Oh my God, he's called it a data swamp.
Oh, yes.
I love
Yes,
that.
exactly,
I was
right,
like,
yeah.
that is dead on. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah. By the way, I should call out that if you have any questions or comments while we're live here, we're happy to take those, checking back every once in a while to see what people are saying. So so put your questions in, and yeah. But okay, so what's next on your hit list of things to talk about?
Performance at scale, that was pretty impressive.
Oh.
Okay.
I was trying to jot down as many stats as I could.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
64 terabytes of data per cluster.
Oh, wow.
And then talking about like Netflix with their billions of traffic flows and terabytes of logs. Which
Yes.
I was thinking terabytes of logs, that's that would keep me up at night. I mean,
Yeah.
thinking to parsing through that.
Exabytes yesterday, and I haven't been able to shake it from my head.
Like, how do you even do that? Like Control F? Like,
yeah, I was like,
probably
no,
not.
please, no.
Probably
You
not.
mentioned data at scale and performance at scale, and that reminds me of one of the other things they called out: 100 million requests per second on DynamoDB for Prime Day. Like 100 million requests per second.
Yeah.
Like that is some serious scale, right?
Yeah.
But they also talked about how Amazon Document DB it now has elastic clusters, right?
That is cool.
Elastic clusters. So you're not manually dealing with that. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. So if you're using Document DB, then that is definitely something that you should take a look into, right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And they have a whole thing written on it, so definitely read about it.
Yeah, I haven't even had a chance to look at all the blog posts. I mean,
There's
the
so
keynote just
many.
ended so recently, and yeah, it is. There's a lot of information, but yeah, today, like yesterday, and like every day, the AWS blogs team, they have been working hard to keep pushing those things out so that we have all of this information. Yeah, so take a look into these things. If these things are interesting to you, definitely look into the blog posts for these things to get more information. So. All right, what's next here?
So throughout the whole keynote, Swami was really driving home the idea of data is extremely powerful. He said it in a whole bunch of very poetic ways.
Yeah.
And delivered it just very well. I mean, data is typically a very dry subject for me. So I went into this going, oh my God, it's going to be the longest thing I ever sat through. And came out of it very excited about so many things. I typically am just like,
right there with you.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was incredible. Just sitting there, hearing his delivery of it, and getting excited about something I'm typically not excited about.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yep. I felt the same way because AI and ML is not my strong point, right? I'm a developer, and I know a basic, I have basic knowledge of things, and so that's the same thing this morning. I'm like, AI and ML and big data, I don't know how great this is going to be because I'm probably not going to have any idea what they're talking about. But then after watching it, it was put into context so much that I felt like anybody could watch this and enjoy
absolutely.
it. And yeah, it was great. It was a great talk.
AWS does a really good job of making things accessible. Like I think they understand their customer for these keynotes is not necessarily only the practitioners in all of these individual spaces. In fact, it's guaranteed not to be, right? There's so many people, and so they do a good job of communicating effectively. So we really appreciate that.
Absolutely,
Yeah, shout out to
definitely.
them.
Keep it up.
Yeah. So you mentioned something earlier, Amazon Redshift Multi-AZ. That's in preview.
That is in preview.
But it is definitely a good advancement. Yeah, so one of the things that stood out to me was that the standby it's not just a standby, it's actually a live backup for reads.
Yes.
So you're not just paying the extra cost, you're actually getting more benefit and performance out of it, but then in the event of an outage, it'll just fail over, right? So,
Yes,
yeah.
which is incredible.
Yeah,
Thank you, Amazon.
Yes, yeah. So that's definitely good stuff.
Yes.
You were also mentioning guard duty earlier when we were talking about it.
Yes.
RDS.
RDS protection. That's really great. Again, security. I'm in a security bubble. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. It's all good.
And what that means is guard duty can now pull RDS, your security sense in RDS, right? So guard duty then can take that and integrate in with Security Hub. So that's even a better way to bring your whole security sense across your organization and see everything where you're at and what you can do to make it more efficient and lock down a lot more. It's a game changer, I think.
Very awesome. Yeah, there's so much, obviously there's so much data all over the place, but having access to certain types of data and then getting them into the right spot so that you can use them, I mean, that's really the theme in a lot of these cases, is opening more things up and then also putting them in the spots where you can leverage them. So yeah, I love it. So moving down, so there were,
Redshift data, centralized access controls for Redshift data sharing. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Where you can manage access for your data consumers from one place.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yes. Awesome. I think that one also is in preview.
Yeah, that one is in preview.
Oh, by the way, we got a couple of shout outs, Dindal and Gorgathor, and yeah,
Hello.
appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us live.
Very cool.
Yeah, so the SageMaker machine learning governance features, it's not super exciting for some people, but I think that it is super exciting for some people.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Governance in general. Governance is important, especially. And when you get into machine learning and things like that, you absolutely want to make sure that you've got control over it.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of good announcements there. And then you mentioned already the auto copy from S3, and they sort of reiterated the data zone from yesterday.
AppFlow connectors.
Oh yeah, you want to?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of AppFlow,
Okay, no worries.
but I saw all those different connectors, over 50 different connectors that they've added, so you're not using like third-party craziness. It's all built in.
Yeah.
And they
so
also. Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say about AppFlow. AppFlow is about trying to enable more people to deal with the data without having to write a whole bunch of code around it and build big systems and infrastructure. So it's like low code, no code sort of a direction of things. And so a lot of those connectors are connecting now to things like software as a service, so that you can bring in data from like analytics platforms and that sort of a thing to still be able to then spin it around without having to have like engineers or analysts that are like spending their full-time day on that. Other people can jump in too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now you can do more with more people or with more connectors.
Yeah, and Amazon SageMaker Data Wrangler also got more data sources. Oh, sorry, was that what you were going to say?
Yes, that's exactly right. That was that.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say? I didn't hear myself say anything.
40 more data sources.
Nice.
SageMaker Data Wrangler.
Yep.
Awesome.
You heard it here, folks.
From Jess first, definitely.
It had nothing to do with that. God.
Yeah, I think
That's all
the
good.
no-code, low-code thing is really cool. And as a developer and talking with other developers, I'll admit there's tons of skepticism out there.
Yes.
We're all like, no, that's never going to work. It's never going to happen. And I can remember, just as little as like 2 years ago, people saying this is a joke, it's never going to happen. But it's happening, and it's taking off fast, and it's a good thing. Like, it's an awesome thing.
Absolutely.
There are so many people out there that are just brilliant at what they do, but they don't want to learn how to write code. They don't want to learn a language. They don't want any of that getting in their way. And so it's awesome that they can sit down and just start clicking buttons and doing what they enjoy doing instead of boring stuff. I don't think coding is boring, obviously.
No.
Obviously it's not boring to me, but it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I understand it. But it's taking off.
Yeah, it totally is. Actually, my favorite example to pull out about that whole low-code, no-code thing is that, do you know what the world's most popular functional programming language is?
Excel.
Microsoft Excel.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
if you think about it, right?
It makes
You're
sense.
fundamentally defining software. You're not like making new hardware for this. You're making a new spreadsheet to combine numbers in a way that's purely functional, because this cell, you don't have like circular references, then it doesn't work. You can't resolve them. So if this is a combination of those things, then this is a combination of those things, and on until you get all the information you need. People are programming. They're going
makes
into
sense.
the spreadsheets and programming software that they need, but they don't call it that, right?
Yeah.
So
That
this
makes me
is
so happy.
yeah, this is bringing those things closer together, right? So instead of just a spreadsheet or just a completely from scratch application that you're gonna blah 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 install or whatever, like all of that stuff, it's way closer to the middle that all these people, they can have a lot of impact on what they're building. So sometimes the low code, no code, it's like I just think it's not fully understood, but sometimes that example helps sort of crystallize it for people. So,
I thought of Excel because I spent years, probably about 3 years actually, turning Excel spreadsheets into applications.
Oh, yeah.
And some of these Excel spreadsheets, we would dig in and they would have VBA code. I don't know if you guys remember VBA code, but it would just be this long, huge, massive structure. and it would be someone who is a business analyst or something like that. They're like, no, I'm not a developer. No, I just, I've just been editing this code for 2 years.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like, this
yeah, I know, right?
It's like a size of doom,
And to be fair, the VBA part that you add to your spreadsheets, that's not purely functional. At
Yeah.
that point, you're getting all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, that was already bridging, closer so that people could start taking advantage, like, oh, I need this extra little customization. And it's bringing more and more of this together. So I love that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are great.
Did you guys have more announcements that you wanted to call out, or should we move into some of the wrap-up stuff that they were talking about?
Good question. I think that's it. I think we touched on all the ones I've got
We
here.
touched on the key announcements that I covered as well. So if you think of one, then bring it back up. But one of the things that I thought was an interesting quote is that Swami said, "You will need access to educated talent," and I think the context for that is really broad, right? Like it totally makes sense. He also talked specifically about, he said closing the cloud skills gap is critical as actually a counterpoint to, and there are also other things, bringing in the low code, no code as an important part of it. But there is a cloud skills gap. There is a need for educated talent, and Amazon is working actually with a number of community colleges and did you want to talk a little bit about the
okay, so what their first university was Houston.
I think Houston Community College.
Community College. And so that's really interesting that they have a whole degree that you can get. That was awesome. I love that they're partnering with schools to close that gap in our
education
system. Yeah, especially because at the state of the cloud, right? Look it up and read it. The state of the cloud. The amount of the size of the gap is incredible.
Yeah,
it is. It's so big. So Swami showed us some graphics of how like the computing science graduates are a tiny little bubble compared to the massive amount of demand for people who have these skills. So there needs to be more. So he was talking about community colleges as one of the valuable ways of bringing people in. And they're working to train the trainers is what they were talking about.
Yeah.
So getting more of them involved. But the call out that digital literacy is a critical part of professional training was one of the quotes on the slides. I think that that's such an important thing because it doesn't have to come from a community college. It doesn't have to come from a computing science degree. It doesn't have to come from learning on your own. In fact, a lot of people are combining a bunch of different things, and obviously we are interacting with a lot of people through Pluralsight and A Cloud Guru. That's we see so many of these people who are changing their lives, changing their careers, that then changes their lives. I mean, I felt this really strongly. Like this call out, this theme of we all need to work on addressing the education story here. It's a really important thing. So,
absolutely. And I think we all have the same goal. We're all trying to close that gap, and so let's do it, guys.
Yeah, I think it was very personal for him also, because he pointed out how he grew up in rural India and got to use a computer for like 15 minutes a week. I was like, wow, that is, I mean, I thought I grew up in a rural area and I thought I was distant from technology growing up, but I could use a computer more than 15 minutes a week. So
it was definitely like a wow, that is an interest, but to deal with that situation and overcome that and push forward. I mean, good on him for that. But what also can we do to support people, right? I see a comment here, a call out. Jeremy Lyons writes, as a numbers guy, Excel makes me happy. Me too. I've seen programming classes that teach kids how to program through drag and drop constructs. Very cool way to introduce coding to newbies. I agree with you. Scratch, and there's code.org that came up recently. I can't remember where I was hearing about that, but
code.org. That was part of the human experience
session.
You
were talking about that yesterday. Right. right. I wanted to call that back out because,
good.
my daughters have been using code.org as well, and
Yay.
and it's like there's some really great organizations that are supporting people to move into this space. So I'm really happy that there are more people that are jumping into this. So
Yeah, that's very cool. My daughter used Scratch quite a bit and got really good at it. And I'm like, wow, you could be a software engineer someday. And she's like, no, I'm going into biology. And that's what she did.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But it was like really fun. Like she had a lot of fun doing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She'll probably have it as a hobby. There's robots and cool stuff. Like
Code a little Python on the side,
just a
you know?
little bit. Dabble, it's fine.
Yeah. Actually, another call out is a Game Builder Garage for the Nintendo Switch is actually like they designed it to teach kids programming concepts. So you're like dragging things on, and then you're giving these individual like objects some behaviors, event-driven behaviors, or like properties that you can move them around on the screen or whatever, and
nice.
control basically building a game. And so both of my daughters have also been jumping into that and just sort of understanding the logic and programming sort of a mindset. It's so valuable that these things are available for people to
Absolutely, and I love that they keep coming out with more. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Oh man, actually, while we're just talking about this, Grasshopper is another app I've seen. I think Google put that out. And then Lightbot is a little game. It's at least on Android where basically it has like programming constructs and stuff like that. So those are really fun little things to mention. So
fun fact.
Yeah. You can take a look at those if you.
I should take a look at it.
Yeah,
Maybe it'd make me a better
Well,
programmer.
I have actually enjoyed playing some of these things myself, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that. So.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's
Well, all right. Any other things to add, or should we wrap it up here? Or?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of stuff, but I'm glad we got a chance to talk a bit about that. And thank you all for joining us to interact live. And I guess at this point, keep being awesome, Cloud Gurus.
I did better this
That was
time.
actually like in sync.
I did better this time.
That was
proud of
great.
myself.
Nice.
Jess, look at you.
Awesome.
Look at us.